Money. It's something we all trust. We hold it, save it, trade it. But what happens when that trust breaks? When a loaf of bread costs more than a house? When your salary becomes worthless before sunset? This is the story of inflation and hyperinflation, of nations that printed dreams and woke up to nightmares. And behind every statistic stood a human being, hungry, desperate, and broken. Long before modern banks or digital money, the Roman Empire faced something strange. As wars drained their treasury, emperors began mixing cheap metals into silver coins, creating debased currency. People noticed. Prices rose, confidence fell. The first inflation in recorded history had begun. But it wasn't just numbers changing. It was trust collapsing. Because when money loses its meaning, society starts to crack. Inflation isn't always sudden. Sometimes it creeps, silently, invisibly. You don't notice it at first. Milk costs one more coin, bread one more note. And before you know it, the value of your savings, what you worked for your entire life, melts away. In Britain, after World War I, this silent thief stole millions of livelihoods. Governments borrowed, printed, and borrowed again, because fighting wars is expensive. But paying for them, that's even costlier. After World War I, Germany was forced to pay massive reparations. To survive, they did the unthinkable. They printed money. At first, it seemed to work. Then, chaos. In 1923, one US dollar was worth 4.2 trillion German marks. Children played with money like toys. People burned banknotes because firewood was cheaper. Farmers refused to sell food for paper. Life savings vanished overnight. A single egg cost billions. Hyperinflation didn't just destroy currency. It destroyed trust in democracy, in leadership, in humanity itself. From that economic ruin rose something darker. A promise of stability, and the man who made that promise, Adolf Hitler. In the early 2000s, corruption, mismanagement, and land seizures crippled the economy. The government printed money to cover costs, and once again, numbers exploded. A loaf of bread cost $10 billion. Workers were paid twice a day, before prices doubled again. Banks couldn't keep up, shops refused currency, and the world watched another tragedy unfold. In 2009, Zimbabwe abandoned its own money. The dollar had died. You might think hyperinflation is a story of the past, but it happened again, this time in the digital age. Venezuela, once the richest nation in Latin America, fell into economic chaos in the 2010s. Oil prices crashed, corruption grew, and the government printed more bolivars. Within years, the currency was worthless. Families fled the country. Doctors, engineers, teachers, all left for food and safety. In 2018, inflation hit 100 million%. Money became paper, hunger became normal, and hope became rare. Inflation isn't just about economics. It's about human psychology. When prices rise fast, people stop saving and start surviving. They spend everything today because tomorrow it will be worth less. In every country hit by inflation, one thing always breaks first: trust. Not the banks, not the coins, but people's belief that their effort, their work, their life has value. And once that trust dies, no government can print it back. Even today, the lessons echo. In 2020, during the pandemic, nations printed trillions to keep economies alive. At first, it worked. Then, prices began to rise. Food, rent, energy. For the first time in decades, the world remembered the ghost of inflation. It may not be hyperinflation, but history whispers a warning. Every empire that thought it could never happen here was wrong. Inflation hits the poor first. When bread costs more, they buy less. When fuel rises, they walk. When currency collapses, they starve. It doesn't just destroy economies, it destroys dignity. In every era, it's the same story. The powerful print, the people pay. History shows one unbreakable truth. You can't print prosperity. Money is only paper if it's not backed by real productivity, real trust, and real value. Rome learned it, Germany paid for it, Zimbabwe and Venezuela lived through it, and yet every generation forgets. Inflation and hyperinflation aren't just economic events. They're stories of survival, greed, and resilience. Stories that remind us that the true wealth of a nation isn't in its money, but in the honesty of its system and the strength of its people. Because when money dies, only truth remains.